You, yes, you. I know what you've been carrying, and I know how long you've carried it in silence. The pressure, the weight, the leadership, the loneliness. They told you to be strong, but they never told you how. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? Mark 8:36. Saul looked the part, tall, strong, chosen by the people, but his fear of man cost him everything. He gained position and lost his purpose. You wake up before the sun. You lead meetings. You make decisions. You carry people's hopes. And somehow, still go to sleep wondering, who's leading me? What if I'm faking this strength? Why do I feel empty? They taught you how to chase goals, how to talk like a leader, how to walk like a leader. But they never told you what to do when the voice in your head says, you're not enough. You look successful, but your soul feels starved, and you're tired, not of leading, but of leading alone. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. Elijah had seen the fire of God. He had stood against kings. He had called down heaven, but even prophets can collapse. When the weight became too much, he ran. He hid. He fell asleep under a tree and whispered, God, I'm done. Can you relate to that prayer? When even victory feels like failure? When the crowd cheers, but your soul trembles in silence? Elijah wasn't rebuked. He was fed. He was rested. And he was met by God. Not in fire or earthquake, but in a whisper. Sometimes burnout isn't solved by doing more. It's solved by doing nothing, just enough to hear again. You don't need another strategy right now. You need stillness. You need breath. You need space to hear the voice that has never stopped whispering. Come to me. In that cave, Elijah didn't just rest. He reset. And when he walked out, he was no longer hiding. He was hearing. Whoever wants to become great among you must become your servant. Matthew 20:26. Peter didn't just fall. He denied the very one who loved him most. He swore he'd never turn away. But fear broke his promise. 3 times. Can you imagine that shame? The eyes of the Messiah meeting yours, right after your betrayal. And yet, that same Jesus called him back, not to punishment, but to purpose. Do you love me? Yes, Lord. Then feed my sheep. He didn't give Peter a throne. He gave him a towel. He didn't hand him a crown. He handed him people to serve. And Peter, the failure, the loudmouth, the denier, became the rock. A leader not of image, but of identity. And that's your invitation too. You don't need to earn forgiveness. You don't need to rebuild your resume. You need to answer the same question. Do you love me? Then serve. Then lead by lifting. Then live by pouring. That is where greatness begins. In the hands of a servant, in the heart of a redeemed leader, in you. 2 are better than 1. For if either of them falls, the one will lift up his companion. Ecclesiastes 4:9-10. Jesus didn't build an empire. He built a team, fishermen, tax collectors, zealots, men who were nothing alike, but chosen for the same mission. He didn't teach them to compete. He taught them to collaborate. He didn't teach them to impress. He taught them to serve. Great leadership doesn't come from doing everything alone. It comes from knowing you were never meant to. The best leaders know their limits, know their lane, and know that strength multiplies when we recognize what others carry. Moses needed Aaron. Paul needed Barnabas. Jesus walked with 12. And you don't have to carry this alone. You were never meant to be everywhere. You were never meant to do everything. God gives a little to each of us, so that together we reflect the fullness of His design. Real leadership begins when you see the strengths in others and you make room for them to rise. That's how kingdoms are built. That's how legacies last. Not with heroes, but with harmony. Because in the kingdom of God, teamwork isn't strategy. it's obedience. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" And I said, "Here I am, send me." Isaiah 6:8. Moses didn't want to lead. He didn't feel ready. He didn't feel worthy. "I'm not good with words. I'm not enough." And yet, God said, "I will be with you." Leadership never begins with confidence. It begins with calling. It's not about the voice in your head. It's about the voice that calls your name. Right now, in this moment, God is not asking for perfection. He's asking for availability. The kingdom doesn't need more talent. It needs more obedience. It needs more people who say, "I'm willing. I'm listening. I'll go." You may not feel ready, but you've been called. You may not know the full plan, but you've been placed. You've been entrusted with a circle, a gift, a burden, and a light. You've been built for more than surviving. You were designed for dominion. You were never meant to sit in the shadows. You were meant to ignite the room. This is your burning bush moment, your Isaiah 6 moment, your whisper now becoming a roar. Don't wait for a stage. Start where you stand. Don't wait for applause. Live for the well done. You were never meant to lead alone, but you were always meant to lead. And now, it's your turn.